Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Sparkle English. My name is Jennifer and today is the first video in a new series I'm going to do on punctuation rules in English. So we are going to start with the most important punctuation mark, which is called a period in North American English and in British English is known as a full stop. So what is a period and when do we use it? Well, a period is a small dot that we use at the end of a sentence. We use it at the end of a complete sentence, a statement, or a declarative sentence. We can also use it after commands. A period helps us separate our ideas and makes our writing easier to understand. So let's look at some examples of statements or telling sentences where we would use a period at the end. I drink coffee every morning. Shannon is my best friend. I adopted a new puppy. So these are all examples of sentences where we are telling something. A statement or a declarative sentence does not ask a question or give a command. And you can see that all of these sentences end with periods. Also note that there is no space before the period. You have the final word and then one single period. You can also use a period after an imperative sentence or a command. For example, pass the salt, close the window, open the door. So you can end an imperative sentence or a command with a period or an exclamation mark. However, if you end an imperative sentence with an exclamation mark, there's a difference in how the sentence would sound. For example, close the door. If I end that with an exclamation mark, I am shouting it or yelling it. There's some sort of excitement in my voice. Let's take the example, be careful. If I say, be careful, and end that with a period, I say it in a calm voice. If I say, be careful, written with an exclamation mark, there's a sense of urgency. We also use a period or a full stop at the end of most indirect questions. For example, I wonder why he left the party. That is not a direct question. A direct question would be, why did he leave the party? So, I wonder why he left the party. That would end with a period or a full stop. Another example, Mary asked if you were coming to her wedding. Once again, that is not a direct question, and it would not end with a question mark. And finally, we use periods in some abbreviations, especially in North American English. For example, I'm going to visit Dr. Smith later today. We would use a period after the abbreviation doctor. Another common example, Mrs. Thomas is going to be our new teacher. We would have a period after the abbreviation Mrs. Now again, this is common in North American English. So we're going to do a quick quiz to test what you have learned from this lesson. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that we use a period at the end of a complete statement. So a statement must express a complete thought. For example, such a rainy day. That is not a complete sentence. It does not express a complete thought. We're missing a verb and a subject. A complete sentence would be, it's such a rainy day. Another example, playing video games all weekend. That is not a complete sentence because it's missing a subject. The boys are playing video games all weekend. Now it's correct. Okay? So now we're going to do a short quiz. You must correct any sentences that have incorrectly used a period and add any periods that may be missing. Let's begin. Number 1. My friends are coming to visit next weekend. Number 2. Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence live in France. Number 3. Where do you live? Number 4. Please lock the door when you leave. Number 5. A cold and windy day. And finally, number 6. I wonder if Brad is still working at that Italian restaurant. Okay, so number 1 is correct as it is. This is a declarative sentence. It's a statement and a complete sentence, so it ends with a period. Number 2 has one error. It correctly ends with a period. However, here we have Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence. And in North American English, after an abbreviation, we use a period. So you can see here Mrs. correctly has a period, but we're missing one after Mr. So we have to add one here. And of course, it's important to be consistent. So both of them must have a period after these abbreviations. Number 3 is incorrect. Where do you live? This is a question. So we need a question mark at the end, not a period. This is not a declarative sentence or a statement. Number 4 is correct. Here we have a command, and it correctly ends with a period. Number 5 is incorrect. A cold and windy day. This is not a complete sentence. So to fix this, we would have to add a subject and a verb. For example, it is a cold and windy day. And finally, number 6. This is correct. This ends with a period because this is an indirect question. I wonder if Brad is still working at that Italian restaurant. And an indirect question like this ends with a period. Okay, so let me know in the comment section how many you got correct out of 6. And I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I look forward to continuing this series with the next punctuation mark in my next video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.